Hello and welcome to NACTV Reads the News. My name is Dave Bennet, one of the many volunteers that help create programming for our station. NACTV can be seen on many channels. We're on MTS channel 30 or 1030 in high def, Westman Cable channel 17, Bell satellite channel across Canada 592, or online of course at nactv.tv. These programs are made possible by our volunteers, staff, advertisers, as well as donations made by you, the viewers. So if you'd be willing or interested to make a small donation to our TV station, please contact us at 204-476-2639 or by email at nactv@wcgwave.ca. We'd be pleased to hear from you. The news today from the Neepawa Banner and Press. This is Friday, November the 10th issue. And we have 16 pages of news, so we better get at it. Right on the front page, barn destroyed by blaze near Neepawa. I'll get a good picture of it there if I can. Ken Waddell wrote the article. This was, an investigation is underway into the exact cause of a fire at a barn located on the former Neepawa food processors property. Fire department received a call at 5:48 p.m. on Saturday, November the 4th, about a structural fire on Dominion Road in Neepawa. Neepawa Fire Chief Yves Gillis said the building must have been burning for a while before the call came in, as the roof and walls were basically gone when we arrived. Gillis added that there was some paperwork and egg crates within the building, but he was initially concerned if there were more dangerous materials involved. As for what may have caused the blaze, Gillis said it's definitely being considered a suspicious fire and is being investigated. He concluded by stating if it was deliberately set, he's concerned about other incidents. And there's more on page 8, so I think I'll move to that right now. This was the chicken hatchery barn area out there of Neepawa. This was on the east side of the, on the east side of the road where this storage shed was. Page 8. 6, 7, 8. Okay, yes, a couple more there. There's a full building full of blaze there. The fire on Dominion Road in Neepawa on Saturday, November the 4th, marked the end of an era as the last building remaining from the Neepawa food processors, commonly known as the chicken barn property, is no more. Neepawa food processors was started in the 1960s by NADCO, that's Neepawa Area Development Corporation, and it was a prominent business in the area until just a few years ago. The barns have all been dismantled and the land is being returned to farming for now. Where this storage building was located is on the east side of Dominion Road, and then the lot was scraped clean, and as shown above right, you can see the backhoe in there. There are plans for seniors housing on this site. We'll await further word on that possibility. Always need more housing in Neepawa, it seems. Well, moving inside. Page 2. Very important article. NACTV hosts its annual general meeting. There's a picture there of the staff and volunteers that were at the meeting, quite a good-sized group. While it was another year of challenges for Neepawa's community access television, NACTV, it was met head-on by the staff and volunteers of one of Canada's last independent access channels. And I forgot to mention the articles by Owen Devereaux of the Neepawa Banner and Press. He goes on, the nonprofit community-owned and operated station held its annual general meeting last week at the dining area of Kinsman Courts 2. A contingent of locals were on hand to learn the details of the year that was. The first subject of the night was an examination of the balance sheet. For this past year, NACTV's total income remained relatively stagnant at $216,989. That was only a slight 3% rise from the previous year. Spending, however, was up year to year by $35,000, almost 17.5%. The total expense with that increase came out to be $238,901, which meant NACTV had a loss this year of $21,912. Reasons for the overall loss this year relates in part to smaller royalties received from the Canadian Broadcasters' Rights Agency, CBRA. Each year, NACTV gets royalty check from the CBRA for content the local station has created. This year's amount was $38,790, which was just over $23,000 less than they'd received the year before. The reason for the drop in the previous year's royalties is due to receiving $20,000 in back payment. That would be last year, previous year. NACTV has been owed money for content from previous years, and that was all paid out in 2022. The amount on money received by NACTV this year is more in line with what is normal for a television station to get from the program. So I guess going forward it should be reasonably consistent. Another factor was the hiring of a summer student this past year. While NACTV does receive a federal grant that assists in covering the salary of such a student, it is only good for a 6-week period. Post-secondary summer students in most job placements will usually stay for up to 12 weeks. NACTV covered the remaining portion of the summer student salary through their own budget, which of course increased overall payroll expenses. Cost of inflation was also a notable reason cited for the year-end loss. Next paragraphs under the Local Journalism Report, or LJI. Rain Pryor provided details related to NACTV's participation in the LJI. The LJI is a national program to support civic journalism in underserved communities across Canada. The funding is available to aid in the hiring of journalists or payment of freelance reporters. For NACTV, LJI staff and volunteers produced 151 programs, totaling 97 hours, 49 minutes, and 28 seconds of content. It's also allowed for the coverage of new programs, such as the RM of Rosedale and North Cyprus Langford council meetings. It's also allowed for training to be provided on interviewing, filming, and editing. 2023-24 is the final year of the initiative 5-year LJI pilot program. And I hear that they're, of course, hoping that it will continue, and I think have made application for that. General Manager's Report. Ken Waddell noted that NACTV is attempting to increase its presence in the region's advertising sales market, though he added that has been difficult. Adding to Rain Pryor's comments on the LGA program, Waddell stated that the federal government does appear to be interested in bringing a halt to the decline of Canadian media. The government appears to be interested in bringing a halt to the decline, of Canadian media. Waddell also noted that while NACTV has come a long way over the last few years, they still could use some more volunteers, as paid staff hours and costs have increased out of necessity. Quote, a lot of our volunteers are getting older. It would be nice to have some younger people who would step up. It's not that hard to do. I mean, if I can do it, says Mr. Waddell, anyone can do it. Even if it's just one program or a couple of programs, it would be greatly appreciated. Yes, they're looking for people on camera or on behind the camera and doing other jobs as well. So if you're interested in helping out at the station, you watch it a lot, contact somebody and see what way you could possibly help. President's remarks. Bill Sherrick thanked everyone for attending the AGM and for seeing value in supporting a station such as NACTV within their community. He also commended the employees and volunteers of NACTV who've made it what it is. Thank you for not only the time you put in, he said, but the pride you took in making it happen. The quality of your work came shining through, said Sherrick. Election of directors. The 23-24 NACTV Board of Directors will include NACTV President Bill Sherrick, John Drinkwater, Karina Jasnik, Danielle Bell, and Don Wamsley. And having been on the board myself for a while, I know that they're allowed up to 8 directors. I think the bylaws say 3 to 8. So that's 5 named. There's room for 3 more. If you're interested in getting involved in the TV station, give us a shout. There's an advert just below that, a volunteer information night on November the 14th by Neepawa Community Ministries. That's the Salvation Army. They're running a volunteer information night. It's at the Neepawa Public Library, November the 14th, 7 p.m. So check that out if you're interested in helping out at the Salvation Army facilities. Okay, looking back. This is always interesting. I read this last night, and so I've marked a few of them. 125 years ago, now that's a long time ago, the Sons of Scotland will meet tomorrow night, it says. There's a note here, according to an entry by McGill University, the Sons of Scotland Benevolent Association was established in 1876 as a male-only fraternal association aimed at supporting Scottish immigrants in Canada. Well, that's my background. My immigrant background is Scottish, so that interested me. 75 years ago, Murray Wilkie, peppery local juvenile hockey player, has earned himself a position on the roster of the Wheat King Juveniles, we are told. Morris Stewart, who also tried for a position, was not so successful. But it is believed he will play for the Minnedosa juvenile squad. We hear also that Don Stahan, maybe, Minnedosa boy who is son of the well-known K.O. Stahan, also caught a place with the Wheat City Juveniles. Well, there's some hockey news from 75 years ago. And 50 years ago, the Royal Cafe on Hamilton Street in Neepawa has been sold by Billy Toy to 2 young men from Vancouver, Stephen Chang and Carl HSU. I'm not sure of the pronunciation. I'll say Sue. Mr. Toy will remain with the new owners until the end of the year. 1973. I was around here at that time. I don't remember those 2 gentlemen at all. Anyway, the name Toy has long been associated with the Royal Cafe. It was operated by Bill's father in 1918. Bill came to Neepawa from Canton, China in 1923. That's Billy, came to Neepawa from Canton, China in 1923 when he was a boy of 13 years old. His dad ran the Royal Cafe and had the Paris Cafe on Mountain Avenue in partnership with Li Ling. In 1928, he sold both businesses to Li Ling, and Bill went back to Canton to get married. He returned to Neepawa in 1930 and worked for 4 years for Li Ling in the Royal Cafe. He went back to Canton in 1935, returning the following year to take over the cafe for his father in Strathclyde. In 1938, he came back to Neepawa to take charge of the Paris Cafe while Frankie Lee took a trip to Hong Kong. Bill Toy is a bowler and boasts many trophies. He's been a member of the Lions Club of Neepawa for 30 years. Remember, this is 50 years ago. Stephen Chang and Carl Sue are both from Vancouver. They came from Formosa about 3 years ago. Carl Sue is a cook and cooked in the Holiday Inn and the Nanking restaurant in Vancouver. The press and the business community of Neepawa wish the new cafe operators every success in their new enterprise, and Mr. and Mrs. Toy a pleasant retirement. And that building is still in operation. It's now Lee's Village Inn. Has been that for quite a number of years. Deceased Neepawa man is one of 17 soldiers from Camp Shiloh, who has been posthumously honored with a Memorial Cross. That was Gunner William David Wright. He was one of 17 members of the Royal Canadian Horse Artillery to lose their lives in a train wreck east of the Canoe River in BC. On November 21st, 1950, an east and westbound train collided. 12 soldiers from the train were killed in the crash, while 4 more died in hospital. The uninjured soldiers continued on their trek and eventually went on to fight in Korea. The 17 soldiers who lost their lives in the Canoe River accident are counted among the 516 Canadians who died as a result of the Korean War. And one more note from 20 years ago, this is, yes, 20 years ago. 2 months ago, back up, David. Surratt. Okay, here we are. When Lloyd Surratt of Neepawa attends Tuesday's Remembrance Day services at the cenotaph, he'll be holding on to more than his brother's memory. Surratt will also be holding a lighter that belonged to his brother when 24-year-old Ebenezer Surratt's plane was shot down over Holland 60 years ago. That would have been 1943. 2 months ago, Surratt received a letter from the Secretary of the War Cemetery, Antoon Verbakel, asking him if his brother Ebenezer had owned a silver lighter. He had, and that's how the lighter came to Canada, just in time for Remembrance Day services. Surratt said Verbakel had to do some digging to find him, starting out with Surratt's living in BC, and from that initial contact, he was able to find Lloyd Surratt in Neepawa. Well, there's an interesting fact. I actually remember that being in the paper 20 years ago. What's at the Roxy? Oh, the big Taylor Swift show. It started last night. I wonder how the attendance was. Taylor Swift, the Eras Tour, showing Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at the Neepawa Roxy Theatre, November 9 to 11. Showtime, 7:30. Don't miss it. And NACTV's advert every week, the highlights of the week. Beautiful Plains School Division update with Principal Mike Rainey. NACTV AGM and Volunteer Appreciation Night, which we just read about, but they videoed that and it will be shown on NACTV. And Coffee Chat this week coming up is with Amanda Naughton-Gale regarding the Salvation Army, the Neepawa Community Ministries Center. And the bingo jackpot's now over $17,000. Get your bingo cards and join us Wednesday nights, that is, at 7. Well, the number of editorials or articles by our regulars, all much dealing with Remembrance Day and that time of year this time, so we'll read those. So, Right in the Center by Ken Waddell. As Remembrance Day arrives again this weekend, my mind is filled with a mixture of memories and thoughts for the future. In my childhood days, there were no direct memories of World War II, as I was not born until 1948. Yes, I am a baby boomer. I do have very early memories of my brother serving in the Korean War, and I did have the honor of touring Korea for 2 weeks several years ago. It gave me a great personal satisfaction that I stood on the DMZ, that's the demilitarized zone, in Korea, and phoned my brother to let him know I was there, and that the Korean men with me wanted to extend their thanks through me for his fighting to free South Korea. I also told those men that as a child, I, along with thousands of other Canadian kids, had little pink cardboard coin boxes where we put in pennies, nickels, and dimes to send to people in need, including Korean children. 2 of the men shed a few tears as they said they remembered that missionary money being used in Korea to send Canadian dried milk powder, and as little kids, that was all their parents had at times to send to school for them to eat. Ken goes on, I came across a quote from Hawkeye in the MASH TV series. It goes like this. Hawkeye, war isn't hell. War is war and hell is hell. And of the two, war is a lot worse. Father Francis Patrick Mulcahy said, well, how do you figure that, Hawkeye? Easy, Father. Tell me, who goes to hell? Mulcahy, well, sinners, I believe. Exactly, says Hawkeye. There are no innocent bystanders in hell, but war is chock full of them. Little kids, cripples, old ladies. In fact, except for a few of the brass, almost everybody involved is an innocent bystander. Now that's quite a quote, but it does contain a lot of truth. At the present time, there are 12 or 14 wars going on in the world. Men, women, and children are being killed by the dozens every day in conflicts around the world. The difference between ancient wars and current wars is that we see more of what is happening, and we see it before the governments can gloss over the tragedies and atrocities. In contrast to the horror of war, I attended a birthday party for my granddaughter last weekend. It was a surprise party for her put on by her husband. They have 3 kids, and with a good-sized crew of their friends in attendance, there were 14 kids under the age of 10 in the house. As I sat back and listened to the joy and laughter of all the kids and the banter of the parents, as one little boy crawled up on the couch to play with his car with me, I almost broke down and cried. The only thing that stopped me was that it would have been too hard to explain, and I didn't want to interrupt the flow of pure joy in that home. I wanted to cry out for all the people who are suffering from the war and destruction today, and who haven't much hope of celebrating a birthday party, even if they will make it to their next birthday. I wanted to cry, but I also wanted to scream at all that brass in the world, both in the past, present, and future, who have caused or will cause so much harm. A World War II veteran friend of mine says it's stupid arrogance when he speaks of the decisions to inflict wars on others. Note, I say inflict war. I blame invading countries, as they've never seemed to understand that old hurts and old wars and old and almost forgotten national boundaries shouldn't matter. On the current war situations I am most familiar with, namely Gaza and the Ukraine, the lines are fairly clear. Hamas has been invading Israel with terrorist attacks for 75 years, and Russia has been stupidly trying to re-establish an old empire of the past. Enough already, be it Gaza or Ukraine or any other war-torn country in the world. People, families, food production, and economic activity are far more important. I know I'm on a bit of a rant, says Ken, but hasn't the United Nations failed us all? They go on and on about a somewhat elusive climate change theory, hoodwinking us all and leading us along a path of unreachable goals. All the while they can't put their foot down on aggressor countries. To me, the United Nations seems like a colossal waste of money if they can't rein in invading countries. I guess we have to look a bit closer at the brass Hawkeye talked about. I think he meant military leaders, and they are to blame along with their bosses, the politicians. The excuse is they all get swept up in some form of extremism. Sometimes it's communism, often it's religion, and storing up old hurts, both real and imagined. The problem is usually based in some form of religion, and that is any belief system where mankind is reaching out to a god or trying to be a god. Christianity isn't supposed to be a religion, as rather than mankind reaching out to God. Christianity is supposed to be God reaching out to mankind. The Christian church got that arrangement backwards many times in history and created a lot of wars themselves. Can we ever put war away? I don't know if we'll ever will, but as we remember the sacrifices of so many people on Remembrance Day, let us hope and pray that we do. And of course, as always, Ken has a disclaimer on the end of his editorial. The views expressed in this column are the writer's personal views and are not to be taken as being the view of the Banner and Press staff. Excuse me. Rita Friesen, Home Buddies column. He always has something interesting to say. A single line from the ever-moving In Flanders Fields has me traveling back to Juno Beach and Omaha Beach in the summer of 2017. The stop was only for a few hours, crowded in between family time and tourist things. It was a welcome change of pace for me, slowed me down, helped me reassess life, my life, and what is of lasting importance. I was certainly moved by the memorials that have been constructed. They are imaginative, moving, and thought-provoking. Sitting through visuals at the museum was thought-provoking and made the scenes come alive. I walked the water's edge in solitude and silence. Never truly alone, for I feel the life forces that wandered there with me. It was a time for deep thinking. Had I been an able-bodied individual in those war years, and I'm thinking the First and Second World Wars, would I have been willing to serve? Would I have been willing to see my partner or my child or a classmate or a neighbor leave all that was familiar to take up arms and go to war? I was born in 1946. Those conflicts were fresh and very real memories. We saw some of the effects in the lives of our community members. There was Mr. Carter, the owner of a small service station, who walked with difficulty, ankles almost crossed because of the effects of time in the trenches. And there was the school bus driver, Mr. Key, who served alongside his father. Mr. Key Sr. had served in the First World War conflict and could not stay home when his son enlisted for the Second War. Knowing the dangers, knowing the horrors, he'd lied about his age so he could serve with his son. The senior later lost first one leg and then the other, also delayed effects of his service. And then there was a neighbor who stopped in when he should not have been driving, and with reserves lowered, sat at the kitchen table and wept over the sights he had seen and the deeds that he had done. I do know that my life is so much better for the fights that have been fought for freedom and liberty. I do know I appreciate those who served, those who serve and those who wait while loved ones serve. I am privileged. I have had access to education, to recreation, and to procreation. I've had the security of a roof over my head and food in my belly, and I wonder, why me? These were some of the thoughts that I jotted down at the day's end. These are some of the thoughts that I still embrace each year. I'm not one to buy souvenirs when I travel. However, I picked up a postcard at Juno Beach. It depicts in dark silhouette armed and weary men walking in single file down rough-hewn stairs with the words "Dans le pas" in French, "They walk with you" in English. May we never forget those who placed or place our safety and freedom above their own. Thank you for all defenders of what is right and good. And thank you, Rita, for those comments. Well, I'll just get to page 5 here now. Well, there's a couple of articles and things here as well. There's a correction. Apparently last week, a bit of an error in the Neepawa Banner and Press. The November 3rd edition, the article, "A Closer Look at Neepawa's New LPN Training Center," stated that the LPN program was a 1-year program. It is, in fact, a 2-year program. Banner and Press apologized for the error. Quite a few 3 thumbs up and 2 thumbs down in the paper this week. From Jess Wood at Arden. Thumbs up and thank you to all who wished me well, gave donations of clothing, blankets, and cash when I lost all my belongings in the Christmas Eve fire in Gladstone. From Donna McLaughlin on behalf of the Golden Girls of Gladstone. Thumbs up to Kevin Buchert, who organized the benefit concert for his sister Janice Constant and her children in Gladstone, and to the entertainers and community members who generously supported the evening. And the other thumbs up is by Tom Yerricks, and thumbs up to Dax Yerricks and Coy Funk, who played with Team Manitoba 16 and unders October 22 in the WHL Hockey Championships in Red Deer, Alberta, winning the gold medal in a hard-fought game 6-5. First time Manitoba ever won the gold. Well, congratulations to Manitoba under 16s, Das and Coy in particular, and thank you, Tom, for putting that in. A couple of thumbs down, however. Let's see. This is by Debbie McNerney in Neepawa. It's apparently okay to vape and drink soft drinks at the Riverbend public parking lot. It's not okay to throw these used items out the car window. Garbage recycling receptacles are readily available. This is a special place. Let's keep it that way, says Debbie. And John McCurry from Plymouth wrote, "Thumbs down to the guy who ran over our pet and never let us know." Well, Neil Stroshine writes regularly in the Banner, and he again is thinking about tomorrow, November the 11th. Like many of you, I saw the accounts of an airstrike that severely damaged a hospital in Gaza and killed many who were either in or near the building. Thumbnail images of the victims' families affected me deeply. I felt no anger to anyone, just a deep sense of sadness that this conflict could have gotten so out of hand so quickly. The reactions from those involved in the conflict were as expected. Hamas blamed the Israeli Air Force. Israeli spokespeople said, "We didn't do it." Independent news media on the scene said, "We know what happened, but it's too soon to say who did it or why." Scenes like the one I've just described highlight the other victims of war. On November the 11th, we honor those killed in action for their sacrifices, and we should. We pray for an end to war and for peace to come to our world, and we should. But how often do we think of and pray for the other victims? Their sacrifices were and are as real as those of the military personnel who lost their lives while in active combat. Who are they, and why do I believe we should include them in our Remembrance Day prayers? Well, topping my list are the families of the military personnel killed in action. Theirs is a grief that may never end. They will never forget the day when, either in person, by telegram, or by mail, they learned that a family member had been killed in action overseas. They will relive that day every year as they join us in 2 minutes of silence on November the 11th. Next on my list are the casualties' comrades in arms. They will go through the rest of their lives wondering why their buddies were killed, but they were spared. I doubt that they will ever get a satisfactory answer to those questions. Then I think about the civilian casualties. They did nothing to deserve the fate they experienced. They just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time and got caught up in the crossfire. Their families and the communities in which they live will bury their dead and support each other in their in their mutual grief. But they will never get over the anger they feel toward those who started the war and produced their pain and loss. Finally, I think of those who lost jobs and possessions when their homes and the places they worked were bombed. I think of those whose crops were flattened by tanks, whose fields were dotted with huge craters caused by bombs, and who lost access to sources of food, clothing, and medical care when roads and railways were destroyed. What took minutes to destroy can take decades to fully restore, if ever it is. I include in this final category those who must clean up after the battles are over, those who collect destroyed tanks, trucks, and other hardware, those who clean up areas where oil, gasoline, or antifreeze have been spilled, and those with the most dangerous job of all, sweeping areas for landmines and unexploded armaments. We may never know how many people lost their lives while doing this and other similar risky jobs. This year, my Remembrance Day prayers will include these people, the other victims of war. I hope you will also offer for them. If we, through our prayers, can prevent even one war with its accompanying loss of life and civilian tragedy, our prayers will not have been in vain. We will have accomplished much. Well, thank you, Neil, for taking us a little farther in our thoughts of remembrance. Here's a letter to the editor from a disappointed hockey parent, Marla Steen, who's the volunteer registrar of the Neepawa Minor Hockey Association. And Marla writes, sometime during the last 2 weeks of October, an individual or individuals removed the kids zone at the Yellowhead Center without authorization from the staff or board of directors. Removing a kid's picnic table, coloring books, markers, crayons, and the sign from the wall, which required a drill, by the way, she says, while not being seen by anyone, does take planning. So I confidently believe that this was not a random act. I have contacted the director and board members of the Yellowhead Center, and no one has any idea who removed the kids zone, leaving me perplexed as to what happened. The kids zone was created in the lobby of the Yellowhead Center to provide a space for kids to play or eat, usually while their siblings are participating in an activity on the ice. I can assure you that this space was well used by many minor hockey families each week. I'm aware of recent complaints involving Neepawa's young population and their behavior at the Yellowhead Centre. If this act conducted by an individual or individuals was intended to resolve that issue, I would have to disagree with your solution. As a parent raising 2 young children, I am struggling to explain what has happened to them. As I see it, removing items you do not own without permission from a public facility is likely to be considered theft or vandalism. It also leaves me with concerns about the security of the facility as a whole, if things can go missing and it's not immediately questioned or investigated. Thanks to the generosity of our community, we've received a replacement, and I can assure you the children were beyond excited this past weekend. The Yellowhead Centre staff are also working to replace the sign from the wall recognizing a local carpenter who donated his time and talent to create the space for the children. If anyone has any information regarding this incident, please contact a board member of Neepawa Minor Hockey or the Yellowhead Centre's director or a board member of the Yellowhead Centre. Well, isn't that something? Yeah, I wonder how they got that out of there without anybody seeing or knowing much about it. Well, where are we now? Oh, Helen Drysdale's got parsnips in her articles this time. Let's quickly say a few words about that. Parsnips are native to Europe and boast a unique flavor that's sweet, nutty, and earthy. They are a relative of carrots and parsley. The parsnip requires a long growing season, but the distinctive sweet flavor of the root will only develop after a hard frost. Yes, I knew that. Let your parsnips freeze. Parsnips can be enjoyed in various ways, including being roasted, boiled, mashed, fried, or used in soups and stews, adding depth and flavor. And here a quick little recipe she has. Takes a pound of parsnips peeled and cut into pieces, 2 tablespoons of butter, 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, salt and pepper, and 2 tablespoons of red wine vinegar. Cook the parsnips in salted water until tender crisp. Melt the butter in a frying pan, add the parsnips and cook until lightly browned, about 4 minutes. Sprinkle with brown sugar, salt and pepper to taste. Turn the parsnips over and cook for another 4 minutes. Transfer to a boil and toss with the vinegar. Frying pan parsnips, she says. Of course, put them in around the roast, as a lot of people do as well, or you can oven roast them by themselves along with other vegetables. All right. Here's an interesting article. The Manitoba Beef Producers have a district meeting in Neepawa. This is by Owen Devereaux. And the last part of it was interesting, I thought. It talks about the creation of an RCMP livestock investigator. Another item that was of interest was the desire to see the Manitoba RCMP establish the position of livestock investigator. The duties of such an officer would include investigating cases of missing and or stolen livestock or frauds related to livestock. One of the largest benefits having this type of specific investigator relates to basic industry knowledge. Producers have suggested that the lack of livestock knowledge among police can hinder them when it comes to a theft. As well, there is currently just a general lack of time for the RCMP to be able to investigate due to being busy with other matters. Manitoba Beef Producers General Manager Carson Cullum said they are actively lobbying for the position in Manitoba and that there are similar positions already in place in Saskatchewan and Alberta. Cullum added that the MBP had been lobbying the former PC government on the issue and will continue to do so with the new NDP government. Well, that's interesting. This is a little article submitted by the Big Grass Community Foundation entitled Celebrating an Evening of Giving. The Big Grass Community Foundation held its first Evening of Giving on June the 13th. This past summer, All of the grant recipients were invited to an evening of celebration with the board and interested community members. The foundation awarded $32,000 in total for many worthy projects in the area. The Big Grass Foundation area includes the towns of Plumas, Gladstone, Langruth, and Westburn, as well as the municipality of Westlake Gladstone. Highlights of some recipients were Plumas Elementary School for their new playground equipment, Westburn Community Club for closed-circuit cameras on curling ice area, Langruth Recreation for new boards in the rink, and Gladstone and District Skating Rink for new flooring in the arena. There are many other recipients listed on our webpage, and more pictures can be seen on our Facebook page. The Big Grass Foundation has been in existence since 2004 and has given away $286,000 since its inception. The board administers the funds donated and uses the interest from the funds to donate annually back to the community. Our generous donors ensure the future of our communities, and we wish to give them a heartfelt thank you during this season of giving. And I guess if you want more information at all, you could ask somebody that might know, or maybe Google Big Grass Community Foundation. Get a contact. There's another little advert at the bottom here, in Giving Challenge. Now is the time to help your community flourish forever. Give to your local community foundation between November 13 to 19, so that's next week, and help them reach their Giving Challenge goal. Every gift made during this week will be stretched by the Winnipeg Foundation and the Manitoba government, increasing the amount your foundation receives. Contact your local community foundation for details and giving options. And there are 3 foundations listed here that are appealing to you to make a donation. There's the Beautiful Plains Community Foundation in Neepawa. There's the Big Grass Foundation, which is towards Gladstone area, and the Carbarian Area Community Foundation. So if you think that's a good idea, please contact them and make a donation next week, November 13 to 19, and it will be stretched, they say here, by the Winnipeg Foundation and the Manitoba government. So that's good. Here's an advert about Al Simmons coming to the Neepawa Legion November the 18th. Preschoolers are free, $10 a ticket. I think there's an article we'll get to a bit later. All right, well, I'll have to move along here. Catch the Christmas spirit with the Strathclair Theatre Chorus. This is submitted. Strathclair Theatre Chorus is excited to help Westman audiences get in the Christmas spirit this fall. It's Christmas is a delightful blend of traditional and contemporary Christmas music, features traditional hymns like O Holy Night, fun novelty songs such as 30-Second Fa La La, and selections from movies and musicals like Elf, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, and The Polar Express. They will present It's Christmas in Minnedosa on Sunday, November the 26th at 7 p.m. in the United Church. Strathclair Theatre Chorus is directed by Elizabeth G. Bauer from Brandon, Jeremy Allen of Brandon, and accompanied on piano by Penny Menzies of Inglis and Barry McNabb, Minnedosa, and on flute by Jeremy Allen. The 50 men and women who make up the ensemble this year come from Strathclair, Show Lake, Cardale, Elphinstone, Birtle, Sandy Lake, Rivers, Brandon, Ononole, Glenborough, Minnedosa, Basswood, and Erickson. Well, that's a large contingent, large area. They rehearse from mid-September to mid-November and then perform in various communities in southern Manitoba. The theatre chorus's first performance was at a dinner theatre in 1991, organized in Strathclair. So that's like 30 years ago or more. Strathclair Theatre Committee Incorporated as a fundraiser for a renovation project at the Ben Theatre. Catch the Christmas spirit with the Strathclair Theatre Chorus. November 26th, Minnedosa. It's probably being offered in other communities that the choir members are part of as well, but that's the one we see here. All right. Oh, Neepawa Gladstone Co-op. The equity checks are almost here. If you're a member of the Neepawa Gladstone Co-op, you can pick up your check at the food store in Neepawa Wednesday, November 15th, noon to 6. Or at the Gladstone food store Thursday, November 16th from noon to 6. So that would, you'd get it quicker, and they wouldn't have to mail it out. Otherwise, they will be all mailed out, the ones that are left over. So that's Wednesday, Neepawa, and Thursday in Gladstone. What else we got? The Neepawa Tigers win bronze at the soccer Provincials. There's a good contingent of gals there in that picture, the NACI Girls Tigers soccer team. The Neepawa Area Collegiate Institute NACI girls soccer team recently won a bronze medal in the Provincial AAA Soccer Championship held in Dauphin. The Tigers went into the 10-team tournament as the number 4 seed. That set them up for a first-round bye and a showdown with the Morden Thunder. Neepawa would advance to the semifinals after a 1-0 win. In their next game, Neepawa was bested 4-2 by the W.C. Miller Aces. The loss shifted them into the bronze medal game with the Niverville Panthers. For their final game, Neepawa ended up with the win and the bronze, winning 3-0. Jillian Parrott and Katie Ray Byram on the left here would end up being named to the tournament all-star team. Congratulations to the Tigers on the excellent season they put in. Well, that's good to hear. And also a little sports note here, the Neepawa Titans Military Appreciation Night, which was, I think, recently held. No, maybe it's tomorrow. Anyway, the commemorative jerseys for the Neepawa Titans home game against the Dauphin Kings have arrived. The sweaters feature the Canadian Armed Forces CanPat style of computer-generated digital camouflage pattern. After the November 11th game versus Dauphin, the jerseys will then be auctioned off with proceeds going to our local Legion, number 23. You can bid on the jerseys online. Oh, that's a rather lengthy website. But I think if you Googled, you could find it. Bidding begins November 10 at 8 a.m. Well, that's today as I read this, at 8 a.m. this morning. Interesting. What else we got? On sports, the Farmers, they split a pair of weekend games from the Tiger Hills Hockey League by Owen Devereaux. The Neepawa Farmers picked up their first win of the Tiger Hills Hockey League season on Friday, November the 3rd, earning a 4-3 victory over the Souris Elks. The Farmers powered their way to a solid 4-0 lead by the early portion of the third period. Dylan Birch scoring a pair, and Benoit Mowbray and Brad Marshall picking up the others for Neepawa. Souris did put together a late-game rally, scoring 3 times in the last 7 minutes of regulation, but the Farmers held on for the victory. Well, that would have given the Farmers fans a bit of a suspenseful end to the game. Neepawa followed that game up with their home opener on Sunday, November the 5th against the Rivers Jets. This game closed out a 6-2 win for Rivers. The Jets would jump out to an early 3-0 lead, scoring all 3 goals in 2 minutes and 15-second interval in the midway point of the first period. In the first 10 minutes of the second period, Neepawa came out on fire, scoring a pair and controlling all the action. Ward Susky and Shane Byram were credited with the Neepawa markers. The Farmers also received a penalty shot opportunity early in the second, but were stymied by Jets goaltender Lane Anderson. Unfortunately, the Farmers never came close to that tying goal for the rest of the game, as Rivers would add 2 more before the end of the second. And an empty netter in the third. The loss dropped the Farmers 1 win, 2 losses on the year. And then Minnedosa rematch with Minnesota Elkhorn. The finalists in the last season's TWHL championship met once again last weekend, and unfortunately for the Minnedosa Bombers, that game ended up having a similar result against the current champs, the Minnesota Elkhorn Seahawks. The Bombers ended up being blanked by the Seahawks 4-0. Brad Bowles, Taylor Sandheim, Parker Johnson, and Josh Martin scored for Minnesota Elkhorn in their lone regular season visit to Sunrise Credit Union Arena. That's in Minnedosa. Combined with a 9-1 defeat in Verdun earlier in the week, these losses dropped Minnedosa's record to 1 win, 2 losses on the year. Gladstone remains unbeaten. While it's still very early in the season, the Gladstone Lakers should still be happy with their hot start to the year, as they've started the schedule 2-0-0. Their most recent win was a solid 4-2 decision over Hartney in the Lakers' home opener on November 4. Lyndon Soper, Lucas Smith, Jaden Schmollick, and Connor Grunston all scored for Gladstone, while goaltender Matt Coleman picked up the win with 28 saves. And finally, Carberry blanked Souris. The Carberry Plainsmen collected a weekend win, shutting out the Souris Elks 4-0. Connor Slip picked up the shutout in the goal for Carberry, stopping all 44 shots he faced. Trey Dixon, Dalen Creasy, Zane McConnell, and Tavish Quinn scored for the Plainsmen. Next action for Carberry is Friday, November the 10th in Gladstone versus the Lakers. Minnedosa, meanwhile, will host Deloraine on Saturday, November the 11th. The Neepawa Farmers' next 2 games are on the road, but they'll return home on November 24th to take on the McGregor Wild. Start time, the Yellowhead Center, 8 p.m. Well, what else we got here? The MJHL standings, I guess if you haven't, as of print time here, the Dauphin Kings were in front with 24 points, Verdun with 22, OCN Blizzard 18, Wayway 17, Neepawa Titans 13, and the Swan Valley Stampeders 11. In the East, the Steinbach Pistons are out in front with 27 points, closely followed by Winkler Flyers 25, Niverville Nighthawks 23, and Portage Terriers 22. Then there's quite a gap. The bottom 3 teams, Selkirk, the Blues, and the Freeze, 11, 9, and 7 points respectively. What about the Club 55 bowling? I don't follow bowling much, but I was really surprised to see these high scores. High, single, and triple on November the 2nd was Carol Batillier, 217 single and a 542 triple. Men's high single and triple, Merv Bone, 284 and 704. Well, good job, you two, for burning up the bowling lanes. Other scores of note are listed here. Len Pritchard, Judy Gabler, Elsie Slimman, Daryl Gabler, Vivian Oswald, Laurie Kahinsky, Calvin Gates, and that's it. All right. What else we got here? A number of obits in here. I won't read them, but I'll maybe mention them. Marlene Asham, Nee McLeod, formerly of Leifer, Manitoba. Ann Kaharski, Nee Sigurdsson, here of Neepawa. Irma Jean Collins at the Riverview Health Center in Winnipeg. Rudith Edith Mummery, age 90, of Lethbridge, Alberta, passed away. And James Lawrence Holmes of Neepawa passed away in the early morning hours of October 28th. So you can probably Google for full obituaries if you wish. Oh no, I missed one up here, sorry. Gordon Stanley Osbach, peacefully on October the 19th at Stonewall Hospital. Got them all. Well, we're getting close to the end here. Got a few minutes left. See what else is in the paper. Excuse me. A lot of adverts here on the adverts page. Middle Plains School Division looking for educational assistant positions. Turtle River School Division looking for bus driver. Neepawa Area Immigrant Settlement Services invite applications for an executive director. That's a big job, I think. High Life always looking for workers. Municipality St. Rose, applications for handy van manager and assistant public works supervisor. McCreary, waste disposal grounds services, recycling services. Prairie Mountain Health, wow, they have a list as long as my arm here they're looking for. So, no shortage of work out here listed in the banner this week. Okay, where are we? Well, a couple of things coming up here in the Neepawa area. The Neepawa Rotary Club is their online auction. We got an article here. And oh yeah, here's the article regarding Al Simmons. They're both be interesting. Let the bidding begin. The Neepawa Rotary Club is preparing its online auction. The article by Owen Devereaux. The granddaddy of all local charity auctions is back again in Neepawa with the organization of the annual Rotary Club online auction underway. Rotary Club Treasurer Murray Newton said this event is their largest fundraiser of the year and usually features between 130 and 150 different items up for bid. Newton said the level of support they receive from not just local but regional businesses and groups is always phenomenal. Quote, the amount of support has been pretty consistent for us in terms of items being donated. We are very appreciative to all the local businesses, to all the local groups that continue to get behind us. The community has been very, very supportive in donation of items and in people bidding over the years, stated Newton. The online bidding starts December the 1st and will run until December the 7th, though some of the items will actually be closing on December the 6th. Yes, the items close, just a few of them close every 10 minutes or so that they don't all close at the same time. But the bidding begins December the 1st. You can bid on anything through that period of time. It's running pretty much the same as it did last year. We will have a list of all the items to see in an upcoming edition of the banner. That'll be the Friday, November 24, and the December 1st editions will have full list. And of course, we'll also have that list online, and we'll be putting up posters around the town soon, and in fact, the posters are up. But you can look ahead of time. You don't have to wait till December the 1st to see what items are up there. You can get online and see what's available, but you can't bid until December the 1st. As for the bidding process, Newton emphasized that you won't need to constantly check and change your bid amount online, and this is true. The website portal is set up some that you can place a maximum bid amount once and not worry about changing it if you don't want to. Let's say, it goes on as an example, you want a specific item. Let's say its value is $200. You can go into the website and you can put in a maximum bid, but it doesn't start at that automatically. It goes up by $10 increments. So if you go in and say, I'm prepared to bid up to $200 for this $200 item, and nobody else has bid on it yet, your bid starts at $10. And it lists it as you have that bid at $10. If somebody now goes in and bids, let's say, $50 for it, well, that will put your bid up by $10 and you will have the bid for $60. As for where the money raised goes, Newton stated they're very proud to have been able to assist a wide variety of local ventures over the years. He cited Kinsman Court 2, Arts Forward, and the middle school playground, and a variety of high school programs and scholarships. For example, while there's no particular project they've earmarked this year's money for just yet, Newton said they are accepting suggestions or applications to help support local projects. You can bid on items online at the Neepawa Rotary Club website is www.neepawarotary.weebly.com, and that'll get you to the bidding site. And if you've seen any of the posters around town and you have a smartphone, you can just simply scan the QR code and get it that way as well. Okay, so good luck to the Rotary Club in this year's auction. And thank you to all the donors and the prospective bidders. Kaleidoscope Concert Series welcomes Al Simmons. Kaleidoscope Concerts is thrilled to announce Al Simmons in concert. If you've never heard of Al, here are a few highlights of his legendary career. Al has been touring the world since the 1970s and has made several appearances on several shows such as Sesame Street and Fred Penner. He has recorded several children's albums and also won a Juno in 1996. He hails from Enola, Manitoba. His illustrated children's book, Counting Feathers, was shortlisted for the McNally Robinson Book of the Year in 1997. He received a Cable Ace Award nomination for his music video, I Collect Rocks, which is also the title track of his DVD. Al Simmons also voiced the Genie Award-winning 1985 animated short, Get a Job. Quote, "It usually takes me several hours to set up for a show. I have a sing-along eye chart where the letters turn into words when you sing them. Music is a big part of the show. I have homemade musical instruments that I play on stage, anything from a turkey baster to an egg beater. I wrap around my neck. I have mechanical hats and a school of eccentric fish that may also sing along." Well, it sounds like a fun time for kids, this upcoming show. Neepawa Kaleidoscope Concert Series with the Neepawa Gladstone Co-op is bringing Al Simmons to town on November the 18th at 3 p.m. at the Neepawa Legion Hall. Advance tickets are available at Arts Forward, online at kaleidoscopeconcerts.weebly.com, and at the door. Tickets are $10 and preschoolers are free. Do not miss the opportunity to enjoy an afternoon with a legend. And thank you to the Neepawa Gladstone Co-op for being a sponsor for this event. And of course there's a picture of Al there with one of his funny hats on. He's also got a funny look on his face too. Now here's a young person here submitted by Leah Ham. Says can't be beat. She's holding up a large beet, I guess, right? The season of giant produce is drawing to a close, but there are still one or two left to celebrate. Pictured here is Gemma Ham of Plymouth. She shows off a massive beet growing in their garden. Okay, two more, I think. This is an open letter to residents of Westlake Gladstone Municipality by Terry Fair. He says, he or she maybe, anyway, that trees are under duress and threat throughout agricultural Manitoba will be old news to most people. Given disease, drought, and the relentless clearing of land, our forests continue to dwindle. Trees have been promoted as one of many potential solutions to excess atmospheric carbon that scientists suggest as causing our climate to warm. Because of these reasons and the simple fact that growing trees is fun, I decided to collect seeds and grow trees for my community. 6 years after initially collecting, germinating, and planting the first trees of my project, the trees were ready for transplant. I assumed our local municipality would take these trees and plant them on public land. After 3 attempts spanning a full year, I gave up trying to give the trees to our local government. And that would be Westlake Gladstone Municipality, I guess. Going on, Terry says, I emphasize give, as I never intended to sell my trees and have not sold them. Instead, the town of Neepawa graciously accepted my free trees for their planting program. I'm happy to finally see my now 7-year project nearly completed, but disappointed we have no new plantings in Westlake Gladstone. I encourage residents of Westlake Gladstone to plant trees on your own property and pressure your councillors to do the same on public land. There are a multitude of diseases slowly diminishing our urban forests, and only by planting new trees less susceptible to prevalent diseases can we begin to increase our tree count again. And of course, it's the trees that fight the carbon dioxide. All right, on the back page, Carberry duo excel with Pembina Hills baseball team. The under-13 AAA Pembina Hills baseball team had an incredible season. Dawson Smart and Jordan Knox represented Carberry along with others from across southern Manitoba. Smart and Knox represented the Carberry area very well with the team. And this is written, by the way, by Jolene Balcionis. Sorry if I mispronounce that. A local journalism initiative. She's a LJI writer. Last month, this phenomenal team was honored at the Baseball Manitoba Awards with the AAA High Performance Team of the Year Award. The under-13 AAA Pembina Hills team played 12 league games with a record of 11-1. The team went 5-1 in qualifiers to advance to the Tier 1 Provincials. The team went 5-1 in those provincials and were able to win 4 of the 6 games to win the tournament and advance to the Western Nationals in Fort McMurray. They lost the bronze game at the Western Nationals, and with a few plays going differently could have won the tournament, let alone the bronze game. They were right there in the mix with all the top teams, and the games were very competitive, and some fantastic baseball was played by these kids. In league tournaments, they went 2-2 early in the year at St. James, and then lost a tough final to a very good Okotoks Academy team in the very close game, going 4-1 for the tournament in Brandon. This team was composed of a talented group of ball players, all with the ability to play many different positions. But the best quality was their adversity and sportsmanship. They never got down on each other when errors were made or a game was lost. They simply supported each other and battled back when they needed to. The entire team was there for each other and supported each other no matter what was happening in the game. The bench was always buzzing, and there was always lots of cheering and supportive comments. The coaching was excellent, teaching the kids all the aspects of the game with very minimal practice as a group, and game time compared to other teams was a feat. The players on this year's under-13 Pembina Hills team, AA team, exemplified what it means to be a team even with limited practice time. They joined together to support each other to win the Provincial Tier 1 AAA tournament and represent Manitoba at the 2023 Nationals in Fort McMurray, Alberta. The parents and coaches were amazed at this group of kids that played their hearts out, showing the rest of Canada what a team with heart can do. And we have a picture of the 2 local boys from Carberry, Dawson Smart and Jordan Knox, big part of that 2023 Provincial Championship team. Well, congratulations to those 2 young lads, the rest of the team, and all the parents, coaches that put out time and effort and do a good job around our Westman area. Well, drawn to a close, and I'll just note here on the very back page of the banner, there's a big advert by the Government of Canada, and it says seniors know a lot. Well, glad to hear that the Government of Canada finally realizes that seniors know a lot. I think their advert, I'll read the rest of the advert. Seniors know a lot, but there's always more to learn, and of course there is. Help ensure your later years are safe and secure by learning about programs, services, and information available for seniors. And they always do put out information for seniors. You can find that at canada.ca on the internet /seniors, or, well, here's an interesting phone number, 1-800-O-Canada. That's a neat phone number. Phone 1-800-O-Canada. There we go. That's the Neepawa Banner and Press for the week of Friday, November the 10th. My name is Dave Bennet. I hope you enjoyed the reading of the paper today. Someone will read next week's, and I may see you again sometime in the future.